Thanks for tuning in to the Joined Up Writing podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at JU Podcast and help us to improve the show by taking 30 seconds to leave a quick iTunes rating. Let's get joined up. So hello and welcome to the Joined Up Writing podcast, where a little procrastination goes a long way. I'm Wayne Kelly.
And I'm Leah Osborne.
And this is episode 23, where we're lucky enough to have with us writer Helen Smith, who, as well as being a very successful author and playwright, is also the organiser of Brick Crime, which is a free online crime fiction festival that takes place next week from July the 11th to the 13th. And as well as chatting to Helen about the festival and her career, we'll also find time for our new feature, News Bits, where we tempt you with tidbits of writing news and share some of the projects and events of our listeners. So, Leah, what kind of writing week have you had?
Okay, another admin-y kind of week, actually. I was getting all the formatting ready for the Slippers and Chains paperback release, which was easier than I thought it was going to be, which is always a nice thing to be able to say. And I finally made a decision about the cover. I don't know if you saw my blog last week or whenever it was, but I was umming and ahhing over what the cover was going to be. I've made that decision now, and I've been able to see some mock-ups from my designer, and they're so beautiful. My toes were curling. I'm quite excited about it.
That's good. So productive. And I saw that you managed to get 2 or 3 hours actual time alone today.
That was the most amazing thing to happen to me on a Tuesday. That little blip I was having with the editing for Walking the Razor's Edge, gone. I'm nearly finished, and I'm so happy. It's really good.
That's brilliant. I've been cracking on with this crime story that I've been writing that's kind of blossoming into something a bit longer, I think, which is good. So I've been currently... my character's recceing a job, so that's been fun doing that and trying to think up some different plot things for that. So yeah, it's been quite good. And seeing as we're talking about crime, now is probably a good time to introduce our guest today, who is Helen Smith, who's a novelist and playwright who lives in London. She's the author of acclaimed cult novels Alice in Wonderland and Being Light, dystopian novel The Miracle Inspector, the Emily Castles mystery series, as well as children's books, poetry and plays, so she's obviously a busy lady. Helen's work has been praised in The Times Literary Supplement, The Guardian, Time Out, Wired.com, and also appeared on loads of Best Books of the Year lists. And
Nice.
the novels have also been optioned by the BBC. She's read her work all over the world, and should also mention that Helen is a literary deathmatch champion, which definitely need to find out more about before we get to the podcast. And if that wasn't enough, Helen has now decided to launch a free online crime fiction festival called Brick Crime, which takes place next week from July the 11th to the 13th. So, Helen, welcome to Joined Up Writing. Thanks for coming to talk to us.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for that brilliant introduction. I'm really delighted to be here. It's great to hear the two of you talking and supporting each other. I think it's really useful to have writing friends that you can talk to, so you don't feel alone, who can say to you, yeah, you've done a great job, congratulations, and I'm happy about my cover, and it's exciting, isn't it? It's brilliant. I think that's what this festival is about, in a way, really, is about writers coming together and working together collaboratively, not on fiction, but on putting this festival together to try to reach readers from around the world. So it's a lot of fun doing the planning, and we've done some hashtag games. We've got Brit Crime Dens. You can find all of these things on Facebook. But we were just asking people to send us a picture of their writing space, and I have to say, people in the past have said, oh, why don't we put our office, pictures of our offices up online or something? And I've always thought, oh, that just sounds awful. What is that going to? Well, I think I might be just a very negative person, but I just think, what are they going to look at? It's just going to be, they're going to be all the same. It's going to be a computer on a messy desk. And what's extraordinary is that the pictures that people were sending us, and they were from the participating authors, and there's 41 of us, including me, and our friends, readers, bloggers, but they're all so different. Some of them are neat as a pin, and lots of pets pets, really sweet. Not, probably just one pet per author usually, but sweet pets. Some chandeliers. Which I know it's kind of like Downton Abbey. I hope our American readers are. So all of that stuff is a lot of fun.
I think it is, and I think that kind of plays into what you said about getting a good support network and surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think that goes for writing, but I think it goes for anything that you want to be successful at in life and that you want to enjoy. If you put the right people around you, people that don't sap your positivity and that they actually add to it and encourage you, then I think you give yourself a better chance of success. So it's good to hear that you're doing a similar thing and pulling people together to put the festival on. So where did the idea come from, and kind of what was the kind of thinking behind it?
Well, I go to a lot of crime fiction festivals. I have more recently turned to writing crime fiction. I'm writing this mystery series that you mentioned in the introduction, the Emily Castles mysteries. And in venturing into that world, and you might find that you're talking about, writing your, I don't know, forgive me for not knowing if it's your first crime fiction piece that you're writing at the moment that you talked about, but when you step into that world, you realize that there's this hugely supportive network of other writers, and that there are these conferences and festivals to go to around the world. Again, huge, brilliant procrastination. You could spend your life, and I almost have, going from one to another, making friends, meeting readers, talking about yourself on panels. It's delightful. You go, of course, again, if you go to America, it doesn't matter what you say. People just think that you're charming and intelligent because you've got a British accent. But it's great fun, and you meet these other writers, and it's wonderful. But the downside is that, of course, it takes time to do that. If you're traveling, I mean, I've traveled to America, as I was saying, to do that. So that's the time and money to do that. So then you're not writing. It also means that however wonderful these, and they're very well attended, these crime fiction festivals might be, not everyone can get there, obviously. Even something huge like Harrogate, which is the biggest UK one. People in America will say, "Oh, I'd love to go to Harrogate. I'd love to go to Crime Fest, which is in Bristol one day, but I just don't think I'll ever get there." People in Australia aren't going to board a plane. So it seems to me so obvious that as so much of our life is conducted online these days, I mean, really, Facebook is where I hang out. I thought, it must be possible to put on a crime fiction festival where we don't have to leave the house. We can, Sarah Hillary, who's taking a part, calls it the festival you can attend in your pajamas, which of course appeals to all writers. I think that, this is a lifestyle that we love, isn't it? Just sitting at home, slobbing about, not getting dressed.
I agree with that.
So that was it. I was just thinking, look, why don't I? And I said to some of the writers that I was chatting to, look, why don't I organise a one-day festival online for about 12 writers? Just tell me, who's in. I'm not going to do this by invitation. Who's in? Who's interested? I got about 40 names and then decided I had to cap it, and we got up to a 3-day festival. So anyone listening to this and who's part of that network of friends who doesn't know that that's how we did that. I mean, it's not that anyone's been excluded. I've since had lots of messages from crime writers saying, I didn't know about it, I'd love to have done it, to which the reply is always the same. It's like, well, if this is a success, we will repeat it and then hope to invite more people. But for now, this is just an experiment to say we must be able to reach readers all around the world. I mean, we've got people from Australia and America who are excited about it, who are going to join us.
So how's it actually going to work? So what sorts of things have you got on the programme? What can people expect?
So the basic we've got 2 days of live Q&As. So they're panels of either 3 or 4 writers from and we're going to do everything on UK time, but we will be publishing US times. But it's all UK time from midday till 10 p.m. on the Saturday the 11th and the Sunday the 12th. We're going to have panels of writers with slightly different themes. It's going to be very free form, and we're going to invite people to come along and ask questions one at a time, as you would if you were in a in a large auditorium or in a library. So I have seen some Facebook parties, I don't know if you've seen them, where people just pile on and everyone talks at the same time. Here, it'll be a bit more of a discussion, I hope, where everyone can follow the discussion. So we'll take questions one at a time like that. There'll be 2 hours per panel, and then at the end of the panels we'll have a Meet Us in the Bar session, which will be much more free form. Just anyone can turn up. It will be hosted, of course, by our writers, but again, it'll be a bit more of a bundle, recreating those Meet Us in the Bar kind of sessions that you see at crime fiction festivals. They're already set up, and we're populating them now, but we've got 2 hangouts. People can, most people are on Facebook, they can find us there. If not, we're also on Twitter, we'll be live tweeting it, we'll storify it. We've got a few platforms. We've got the obvious place to find us is britcrime.com. The program is there, and links to everywhere in a kind of spider format, so you can find our Facebook and Twitter. We're on Twitter at BritCrime. We're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/BritCrime. It's quite easy to find. We've also got a blog where we can have much, much longer previews of each of the panels, and some in-depth exclusive content. So I rambled then, didn't I? So what I was saying is we've got two things set up. One is the BritCrime Readers Cafe, again on Facebook, on our Facebook page, where people can sort of hang out and meet other readers and ask questions like, look, have I missed the serial killers panel? Or is that on? Or what did you think of it? Or have you actually read Paul Finch's latest book, because I really loved it? Or have you seen my review of Colette Macbeth's book, because here's a link. And we'll be doing giveaways there. And then our Meet Us in the Bar sessions will be in the Slaughtered Author, which is an oldie British pub on Facebook. What I'm really enjoying about it is creating this world of make-believe, that it's so...
almost like another writing project, isn't it?
Oh, yes. I mean, so there's a lot of admin, which is kind of awful, which, you just think, should I poke myself in the head with a fork, or should I, get the rest of those panel links up? But it's a necessary part of it. But the world building is so much fun. I'm going to have a meat raffle in the Slaughtered Author. So and we keep thinking of new things. And the great thing, because it's online and you can change it, is I can keep tweaking it. If something's not quite right, I can change the link, or if I think, I haven't showcased that properly. If our authors have lightning deals, we can have those. It's just, it's fun. Let's see how I feel afterwards. So long as people come and they have fun, I think that's going to be a measure of success. And if there's a way to keep in touch with people afterwards as well, to keep in touch with readers afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That is the real positive of social media in general. It's the same thing. It's mutually beneficial anyway. But I think the more that people realise that that's kind of the best way to get on, and the best way to have successful projects of any description, is collaboration and working together. I think that's kind of the idea behind the podcast. Actually, that's why we're called Joined Up Writing. The whole idea is to join up with other people, other like-minded people, and kind of build a bigger network. So I think it's a great idea, and wish you all the luck in the world with it. I think it'd be great.
Sounds fantastic.
Thank you so much. We've got a couple of things that writers at different stages in their career would be interested in, if you'd like me to talk about those. Sure. So there's a couple of things. One, which you may have seen, is that a leading literary agent who represents two of our authors who are both bestsellers. One is Mel Sherratt, who was one of the best-selling authors on the whole of Amazon UK a couple of years ago, and the other one is Callie Taylor, who writes as C.L. Taylor, who's been at number one, just been knocked off actually by E.L. James, but been at number one for a few weeks. Listened
to an interview with Callie Taylor actually on another podcast recently.
Oh yes,
WorriedWriter.com, I think it was.
Oh, okay. Well, podcasts are where it's at. So the literary agent who represents those two writers has offered this marvellous opportunity where unrepresented writers who've written their first crime novel can pitch her during the festival on Twitter. So they only get a few characters to do it. They can either pitch the idea for the book itself or a tantalizing question about it. And she's going to pick 3 winners and give them a critique of their cover letter, their synopsis, and their first 3 chapters, which is... Yeah, it's really generous, I would have to say. There's lots of things that are generous about it. One is that that she's offering to critique all those things, and to do it for 3 people, which is a lot. So for somebody who's unrepresented but is just putting the finishing touches to a crime fiction novel, that's something that's very interesting. We're also going to have something for people who haven't started writing yet and are thinking about writing, and we're going to have some more detail up on the site probably about the time that people are listening to this. So we've got lots of giveaways coming, so new things are coming out all the time. The best way to stay in touch to hear about all these things is our newsletter.
We'll post links to all this stuff anyway on the show notes for the podcast, so that's great. It sounds like there's loads of things, and I spotted the thing about the literary agent, and as you say, I mean, I follow on Twitter, so that's probably a good way to do it, just to see the updates. So we'll make sure we put all the links on there as well. But it's really good. I'll actually be on holiday in Spain, but I am going to try to find some internet at some point so that I can log on somewhere, because it sounds like it's a really, really good event to be involved in. From the first time from your first book, you mentioned before Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Was that I know that was your first published book, but was that the first novel that you wrote? Or, because I know sometimes the first published books can be your second, your third, your fourth, whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I've had some brilliant beginner's luck with everything, really, from bowling, and then it all seems to, the first time I ever did that was quite recently, and you throw your ball down the alley and knock down 10 pins and think, well, this is quite straightforward, and then never do as well again. And similarly with that first book, I got my agent quite quickly. She called me as soon as she read it, and I got a publisher, and my first review was in the Times, and you think, this is great, and you think, I'm hardly even trying, to imagine what I'm going to be in 10 years' time. And of course, and I was having a conversation with this with other writers, as you know, it tends not to be, well, I think life itself tends not to be that brilliant upward trajectory. It's very often, a path of twists and turns and highs and lows. So it did well, and it was great. And I have written other books, and continued to be happy with the success. But I'm hoping to be one of those 20-year runaway successes where people will be like, wow, where did she come from? And they'll be like, well, I was here all the time.
Yeah, 20-year overnight success.
Yeah.
So what about your actual process? Has your process changed much from that first novel? When you wrote that first novel, was it a case of you just had the idea and it just came, you wrote it very quickly, or how long did it take you to put that together? And has your process changed much since then?
I took forever to write it. I didn't know any other writers, and not even certainly novelists, but not anyone who earned their living by writing, not journalists or anyone. Obviously, as you know, a lot of writers are ex-journalists, and they know about getting the words done, meeting deadlines and so on. So I took forever. I mean, it was over a period of about 4 years. I had a full-time job, I was bringing up my daughter. But I say that, and yet I've got friends now who've got 3 children, and and they bring out 2 books a year. So I think one of the things that can be toxic for writers is to compare yourself to other people. I think if you ever start doing that, we talk about being supportive, and it's great for somebody to say, like, congratulations, well done. If you ever look at what somebody else is doing and think it's not good enough, then that's not great. But having said that, if I look back at myself, I think, well, I could have, got a bit of a move on with that. The process is broadly similar in that I know beginning, middle, and the end. I know who's in it. I know what's going to happen. Quite often I know even like the last line, and I will say that I plot it, but when you look at what other people do when they talk about plotting, I don't do that, so they will do I think, oh, I see, that's what you meant. So people will sometimes do what's called like a step outline in screenwriting terms, isn't it? Or that, they're almost like scene by scene bullet points.
All your beats are down there,
all the beats. I don't do that, but I sort of know where I'm going, but also don't mind veering off. Quite often there's a character. I think it happens to all of us. There's a character, and you think, oh well, I'm falling in love with you. You're great. So I'm going to give you. You're going to have a bit more space in my book because I like spending time with you, so I hope that my readers will too.
Yeah.
But I think that every time I think, oh, this is, so I start off, I think this is going to be great. This is brilliant. I'm brilliant. Hooray. And then I start working on it, and I just think this is awful. I can't do it. I can't remember. I don't know how you even write a book. This is awful. And then you get to the end is in sight, and you think, no, it is. I've got something here. But it's just it's crazy, isn't it? Because you've got to have this huge ego in order to sit down and spend all day putting words down, thinking somebody is going to want to read them. So there's that, and then and then there's also the very necessary self-doubt, because you can't just sit there and think, oh, I'm brilliant, because you've got to look at it and look at it again and edit it and be tough with yourself and think that sentence isn't working. That scene isn't good enough. That that doesn't work. So it's a weird, very enjoyable but navel-gazing kind of life, isn't it?
Yes,
it is. I mean, what's your I mean, obviously you've had editors and all that kind of thing, but in between you drafting something and sending it to edited, do you have other trusted readers, or do you use beta readers, or are you in a kind of a member of a critique group or anything like that?
No, so I will get it to the point where I think that that I can't do anything more with it. So people work differently. Some people have, will send a very good first draft to an editor. So mine, I take a long time writing it. So my days writing, I will finesse, because so some people will do that kind of like they call it a vomit draft, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, it's different for everyone. There's no right or wrong way. I've tried doing that, and then when I look back at it, I actually want to vomit. I just hate it. So mine has to be in a very good shape as I go along, and then I will go over it and over it and over it and over it and over it, and at the point where I just think it's unimprovable, and nothing ever is, of course, then I will ask 1 or 2 trusted readers to read it before I send it off to an editor. So I don't get huge edits from my publisher. So there's, as most people would know, and as you would know, there's kind of developmental edits, which is like structural stuff, and then there's copy edits, which is spelling and grammar.
Yeah.
And you absolutely can't escape the copy edits and the proofreading. And the developmental stuff, you hope, is just somebody saying, do you know what? I didn't believe that they would go to France, and you just think, I know. Do you know what? I thought I could get away with it. It's not something that you've lied to yourself in a way. But you've handed it over thinking that's great, and then those kind of things should be, and it's, like I say, it's different for everyone. Some people, somebody will get in and will get there, will change a lot of things. I don't like that. I like it. I like to feel like it's there and there's nothing more I could do with it. It takes me a long time to do it, though.
So as well as writing your novels and your short stories and everything else, you mentioned in the introduction that you've written plays as well. So do you approach that in the same way? How did you find yourself writing plays as well?
I got commissioned to write a couple of screenplays that didn't get made. They pay you, but I was my head was really turned by that for a short while, because they pay you so much money compared to the amount that a normal writer would get. I mean, there are always people who get big advances, but if you just I didn't get huge advances for my books. But in TV, they pay you much more, but it's called development money, but it's putting it in a drawer money, so they might pay you to work on it, but there's no guarantee it'll get made. So I realized that it's not uncommon for it to take, if you write a screenplay, for it to take 8 years, 10 years to get onto screen. Yeah, I mean, 8 years is apparently quite standard. It can be much quicker than that. I know, it can be much quicker than that. A friend of mine, Blake Crouch, he wrote the Wayward Pines trilogy, and that's just been aired worldwide with Matt Dillon on TV with Fox, and that happened. He's a friend of mine, and we've got the same agent. So I just think, okay, my agent can afford to put his two gorgeous daughters through college. Because Blake's doing very well. But that was really quick. I mean, that was about about a year. But that's really unusual. And so I've got friends who work for in TV. So I had started doing that and thought, this is going to break my heart doing this. I don't want to write and not
something to be just locked
not find viewers or readers. Remember, I just saw a call for a submission from a theatre company in Scotland, and they wanted somebody to write something about the play was called The Psychic Detective, and it was about, it was a kind of film noir thing, and I just thought, what we were talking about, whether or not there's a right or wrong way. And as I read that, my heart leapt, and I thought, that I want to do that. I have to do that. And that was on at the Edinburgh Fringe. It came down to the National Theatre. It was actually technically on at the National Theatre in London, but it was actually parked outside. It was part of their Watch This Space programme, but it was parked. But it was on at the National. So exciting and thrilling. Again, another beginner's luck thing where I just thought, whoa, I might become a very successful playwright then. How lovely.
Okay, right, yeah. So, we'll just take a quick break just to do this week's news bits, and then we'll return and we'll just get a few final tips from Helen, and we'll just finish off talking about Brit crime a little bit. So,
and Literary Deathmatch, by the way.
Oh, yes. Remind me about that. We do need to put that off,
My finest hour. Yes, we must talk about that.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Okay, so this is this week's News Bits. So, Leicester writer Maya Chowdhury has just published a new anthology of poetry and flash fiction dealing with issues faced by teenagers and young adults in Asian society. It covers loads of issues, including fitting into a new school, early puberty, society pressures, bullying. It's called Embarrassing Siblings, Playground Taunts and Other Growing Pains, and you can get the Kindle version on Amazon.
Wonderful. Writing Chat is a regular Twitter chat which takes place every Wednesday evening between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. UK time. It's open to anyone and with different writing topics every week. You can use the Writing Chat hashtag, which is just #Writing Chat, to find out more, and you can tweet Maria Smith at Maria A. Smith or Patsy Collins at Patsy Collins for more information.
Katie Sohn at Right Away Arts runs regular creative writing workshops with a focus on improving well-being through writing. She runs sessions in Colville Library in Leicestershire every Thursday, as well as the second Tuesday of every month at the Black Horse pub in Leicester. And you can find more info about that at rightawayarts.co.uk.
Historical fiction author E.S. Moxon will be signing copies of her Wolfsana novel at the Letoseum Roman Museum at Wall in Staffordshire on the 19th of July. The book is first in her Wolfsphere series, and you can find more information at elainexmoxon.wordpress.com.
And of course, another quick mention for Brit Crime, which is the free online crime fiction festival that takes place from July the 11th to July the 13th and features more than 40 crime authors and loads of other great events. And you can find out more at britcrime.com, and I'll put all the other links on there. And that concludes this week's News Bits. Okay, so just to sort of round off, Helen, just maybe talk a little bit about your current projects and your kind of foray into crime that you mentioned earlier, which is your Emily Castles mystery. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so they're humorous mysteries. They're contemporary, so they've got a kind of golden age feel. There's no swearing or sex in them. They have an amateur sleuth, Emily Castles, and she's 26 years old, and she's based very loosely on my daughter. One thing about that is that I can do, in the About the Author section on Amazon, I can say Emily's based on my daughter in the hope that nobody will leave a bad review. And I have to say that that strategy isn't 100% successful. You don't need to worry about imitating that. You sounded as if you were really interested in literary deathmatch, and so I don't need to talk about myself so much. But I love.
I love that at the beginning, so it'd be great to actually hear what happened there.
Well, no, I love them. Have you been along and seen any of them?
No, I don't even know what it is. I
didn't know anything about it until I read about it.
It's so great. It's so super cool that you just think, I don't know if I even dare to go along and be a member of the audience. And then when you go, they are the people who organise it and the people who go along are so inclusive and fun, and they love authors, and it's great fun that you don't, nobody turns around and says, are you sure you should be here? So I went along as an audience member a few times and was invited to go as and take part. So literary deathmatch it pits 4 writers against each other, which sounds potentially awful and gladiatorial, except that it's done in so much spirit of fun. So you start off, you read a very, very short piece, about 5 to 7 minutes from your writing, and you're judged on literary merit, performance, and intangibles. And intangibles is great. So they let me go through to the next round because I had a nice necklace. So do you see what I mean? Nobody feels like, oh my goodness, her writing was better than mine. That nobody's really judging you on your writing.
Yeah.
It's fun, and so and then so that was, I thought, there's no way I'm going to get through, because and I was so excited to get through on my necklace to round 2, and then I won by they blindfolded the 2 of us. And we had to throw darts at a poster of H.G. Wells. And so whoever got it closest to his face. And again, that was that beginner's luck thing. I was brilliant at it. I'm sure I could never repeat that.
That's great.
Nice.
Well, it's been great talking to you, and we hope that this beginner's luck that it seems to be run as a nice little thread through your life. Hopefully that works with your first time at an online crime fiction festival. Let's hope.
Yeah, and this is my first podcast, so I hope it's a resounding success.
Oh, well, it's been great to talk to you anyway, so we've enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been so much fun, and thank you for having me on, and thank you for being part of our Brit Crime Festival and hosting this as one of our friends of Brit Crime. No. We're so delighted to have you involved. Thank you.
No, it's great. So if people want to connect with you personally,
yes,
as a writer, etc., how can they reach you? So I think you're on Twitter as Emperor's Clothes.
Yes, I'm on Twitter at Emperor's Clothes. And if you actually, my website now is Helen Smith Books, and I've got a newsletter, and I write these very jolly, chatty notes out to people. and people can write back.
I'll put those links on the show notes anyway, and also links to Brick Crime, which, as I say, takes place next week, July 11th to July the 13th.
Thank you.
You can find more info at brickcrime.com, and it's also on Facebook and the hashtag, obviously, as well.
Yes.
And in the next episode, we'll actually be doing another special show as part of the festival, and that will be with fellow Brick Crime author MJ McGrath, who's been nominated for a Gold Dagger Award for her book, The Bone Seekers. So we're looking forward to speaking to Melanie as well. That'd be really, really good. Okay, that's been brilliant. So to listeners, until then, you can look out for more TMTs, which we've just started doing, which is 2-minute tips. We've been getting some really good feedback, so you can also give us your ideas for topics on that. It'd be great if you tweet us at JU Podcast. You can also send your news bits to team@joinedupwriting.co.uk. You can find us on the web, joinedupwriting.co.uk. I'm on Twitter, Mr. Kelly to you, and Leah, you're on Twitter?
I certainly am. I am Iliandra X Raven on Twitter.
That's good, and I can hear a car alarm in the background, so that's as good a reason as any to wind up.
How you know?
to wind up, that's the alarm telling us we've run out of time. So thanks for listening to the Joined Up Writing podcast. Let's get joined up. I'm Wayne Kelly,
and I'm Leah Osborne.
Happy writing, and see you next time.
Peace out, folks.
Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, follow on Twitter @JU Podcast, and go to joinedupwriting.co.uk. Let's get joined up!